Look at him on that big old bike. Bye-bye. He's having a little bit too much fun on the dad bike C50. There you go. There you go. Alright, welcome to a little bit of an impromptu moto vlog on everybody's least favorite giveaway bike, or in my case, most favorite giveaway bike, the Harley Davidson Sportster Iron 883. If you do not know, this is our new giveaway motorcycle. We have it up for grabs on YammieNoob.co. You can get entered to win it for free. Click the link down in the description below and get started. And it's so pretty. I freaking love this motorcycle. But it occupies a really weird niche in the motorcycling world, right? And I wanted to talk about it today because there was some news regarding the new Harley Davidson Rewire program. And I didn't want to specifically talk about it on the podcast because we talk about Harley all the time there. So I wanted to make my own video about it. So that thing chug to life. Now, what's going on with the Rewire Project, right? So the new CEO, replacing the old CEO, has decided to cut a lot of the motorcycles that Harley Davidson was going to make, cutting models by about 30% and focusing on the bikes that made Harley great, right? And as a result, they've cut models like the Roadster from the Sportster line. And if you've followed Harley for any length of time, you'll know that the Sportsters kind of gained in popularity, and there were a bunch of different kinds of Sportsters that you could get, right? You could get the 72, you could get the Custom, you could get the 883 Low. There's so many different, even the Nightster, right? The bike that launched the Dark Customs line. There were so many Sportsters you could get. And now they're sifting and winnowing it down to a very select set of motorcycles, right? You have the 883, the Iron 1200, and the 48. Now, the 48 and the Iron 1200 are very similar motorcycles. The only main difference is the 1200 has apes and mids, and the 48 has forwards and a little peanut tank. And aside from that, they're basically the same motorcycle. Versus something like the Roadster, which was, it had a nice tall suspension, it had low club handlebars. It was a more unique motorcycle than I believe the 48 or the Iron 1200 are. And I think that's kind of what killed it. But that video's not about the Roadster, it's about the 883. And why I think this motorcycle both does not deserve to exist and still does at the same time. So let's think about the Sportster in a worldly perspective, right? So considering all of the different beginner cruisers that you can get, you know, the C50 we just compared the 883 to, or the Rebel 500, or the Shadow line, all of those, and hell, even the Versus 650, all of those motorcycles are very, very, very good right off the factory floor. They do different things, sure, like the Rebel is a little bit smaller, it's got a sport bike engine in it, similar with the 650, and the the C50 and the C50T are big old highway cruisers, and the Shadow, I don't really understand why the Shadow exists, honestly, anymore. It's really kind of a bike. But the 883 compared to that, all of those motorcycles is more expensive, has more displacement, has the same power, and has less technology, right? This doesn't even have ABS. And with the exception of the C50 and C50T, that's the only place where the Harley is more technologically forward, because it doesn't have a drum brake in the rear. So why does it exist in that world? And honestly, I don't think it has a reason to exist there. because it is not as good of a motorcycle. It's just not. However, what it does have that those motorcycles do not have is just pure raw V-twin character that even the Japanese V-twins don't quite nail. You know, they still have the right sound, but they don't have the right feel, right? They just don't feel similar. They feel too polished, too smooth. And this has that really kind of raw, cool factor that those little motorcycles just don't have. They can't really have it because of the way they're engineered. They've engineered out a lot of the vibration and a lot of the, you know, dark customs. They've covered everything in chrome. They feel like they're designed for the people who like the heritage, a little bit more of the boomer demographic, shall we say. I don't like to just, you know, I don't like to group everyone in there so much, but it really does feel like a boomer-ish dad bike kind of thing. And the Sportster absolutely is not. But in that sense, you're literally just paying more money for a little bit of air-cooled character, right? So in a world where those bikes exist, there's not really a lot of reason to get the 883, which is kind of a shame. And then let's look at it from the Harley rider perspective. From the Harley rider's perspective, it's the slowest Harley. You know, sure, the Street 500 exists, but it's actually a little faster. And, you know, the 750 is much faster than this motorcycle is. And, you know, the Sportster 1200s exist, the big Evos. So why get a little one? It's really kind of in a weird place, and I don't really understand why something like the 1200 Roadster got the axe, whereas this didn't. And here's my thought process on why. This motorcycle, unlike any of the other Sportsters, is the pure Sportster riding experience. There's no big bars on it, you know, it's not designed for any specific purpose. This is just for anybody who wants to get on a Sportster and make it their own, right? If you get the Iron 1200, you have a little bit of modifications that you can do here and there. And again, theoretically, you can do anything to it, but, you know, it's already got the big ape hangers, it's got the mids, it's got the low suspension. It's telling you it wants to be a club bike, right? The 48, it's got the big cruiser tire up front, it's got the, you know, forward pegs, it's got the low handlebars, it's got the small peanut tank. It's telling you it wants to be a city cruiser. The 883 doesn't tell you what it wants to be. It lets you tell it what you want it to be. So if you want to put the 1250 kit, the 1275 kit, make big power, go for it. If you want to just, you know, stick with the 883 but jack up the suspension and do a little bit here and there, go for it. And that's the real reason why I see the 883 remaining, is because it's the one Harley out of all the Harley Davidsons that exist that allows you to get in and really modify every single piece of the riding experience to your liking. Sure, the frame is old, and, you know, the R&D costs have been so far recouped that it basically just prints money. But I honestly do think that it matters more than the bigger 1200s, the big 1200 Sportsters. I think it matters more than the Heritage line. I think it matters more than most of the Softails, to be honest. And if you want the Harley Davidson, this is that Harley Davidson. Is it a good bike? No, not really. Objectively, it's pretty poor, you know. But it has so much potential for you to do whatever you want with it that no other cruiser has. And that's why it's going to be a real shame when you know, as they try and sift out and winnow out a lot of the bikes that just don't sell anymore, or that they can't sell because of regulations. It's really hard to make an air-cooled bike like this fit into tightening Euro regulations. It's really going to be a shame when the Sportster meets its inevitable demise. Will there still be Sportsters of some form or fashion? Probably. I really doubt they'll get rid of the Sportster line. But look at the way Yamaha went with their Bolt, right? They just cut and ran. They were like, it's not worth trying to make a 5-gear air-cooled motorcycle fit into modern emissions compliance. And they're like, just nah, we'll cash in our chips. And Harley's still at the table with this. And I think that's down to this motorcycle really being the backbone of the Harley Davidson brand. You know, people do so many cool things with these Sportsters, and it's because they're designed for you to do your own thing. And in a world where Harley really wants to trend on that individualism, that, you know, rider agency, all of that crap, this is that motorcycle. This is why they can make those claims, because every Fat Bob looks like every other one. The paint might be different, but it's still just a Fat Bob. But every Sportster's a little bit different. No matter what happens, no matter who owns it, they're all a little different. And that's why I love it so much. Yes, the 1200s are better, but as a beginner bike that you can own for the rest of your life, this is the best motorcycle out there. Honestly, I personally believe that with the amount of things that you can do to it, with the way that you can grow with this motorcycle, that's why it still needs to exist. And if you want an 883 as they are today, you probably need to buy one sooner rather than later, because if this new CEO has his way, I don't see the Sportsters really existing as they are today. They're going to get infected with liquid cooling. You know, they might put the Milwaukee 8 in it, add liquid cooling, but it's not going to have the same character and feel as this old Evo. And I get it, things have to change, but I really loathe the day that this goes away, because I think that's the day when we can say that Harley is really no longer Harley Davidson. I mean, just look at that thing. It is 100% unique. There's no other bike like it. And just look at it shake and wiggle. It's not a good bike. It needs a lot of work. It's a very old motorcycle, but the classics are the classics for a reason. And this thing is a cult classic. It is an American icon. And I just love it.
So my sweet little squid, this video is actually over, but lucky for you, click on this one right here. You can keep watching your sweet Papa Yam delivering you the motorcycle content you've come to know and love. Don't worry, I'll wait. I'll be here waiting for you. You're gonna click on that video.